So here's the setup: blueberry white tea, the aroma of vanilla latte candle, and you and I are talking. Really? Like, that is a phenomenal setup. I feel great. I feel great whenever I speak to y'all, truly. Welcome to the Save the Good Girl podcast. How y'all doing? I'm your host, Erica E. And for those who don't know me, that is okay. Welcome to your first luxury listening experience. I want to get to know you, though. I really do. So go to SaveTheGoodGirl.com and please subscribe to my website where you will receive wonderful newsletters from me. And I want us to be social. I'm a pretty social person, so I want us to get to know each other. I post really fun stories on Instagram. So if you're on Instagram, follow Save the Good Girl there, Pinterest, Threads, and on Facebook, because we're gonna have a good time. There's a lot of space for y'all to come in VIP. And if you're listening for the first time, I'm excited for you to join. I have a feeling once you come in, you're not gonna want to leave because you're gonna be treated very well here. So y'all, I actually was talking to my friend today about this, and I know you're probably thinking from the title, Sushi and Vulnerability, what's going on here? And then she was like, are you ready to share this? Do you want to talk about this? Do you feel comfortable? And I said, yeah, actually, I do. I think that, me doing this podcast, I have my mission statement of being honest and vulnerable. And the whole point is whatever I'm sharing, the goal is for it to help you guys as well. And I think it will. I think what I experienced, most of us have experienced. So we're going to talk about this sushi and vulnerability and how does that tie together and what happened. Let's get into it. Sushi and vulnerability. Do you guys see it? Sushi and vulnerability, how it rhymes. You know what's crazy? That title actually came from me doing a reel. When I went out with my friend, the spot that we went to was just so aesthetically beautiful. I took some videos to do a reel and I was going to post it. And I was like, you know what? I kind of like this title, and I think I want to post it when I release this episode because there's some sentiments behind it. It wasn't just going to a restaurant. And I met up with that same friend today. We were just having a conversation, and I was telling her, I'm planning on recording about this. I was going to originally talk about something else. And then she was like, are you ready to talk about this? Do you want to share that on the podcast? And I'm like, yeah, I think it's a good time to do it because I really want to be vulnerable and I want to be true to my brand. And the whole point is there is something that came out of this in a good way. And I just wanted to share how I felt about it. And maybe some part of it could be useful to someone else. So let me just tell you guys what happened. First of all, today was a nice day for me. I love aromatherapy, right? I think I tell you guys this all the time. I love aromatherapy and I love smelling fragrances. I love that. I went to TJ Maxx today. I found a really, really great fragrance. I love it. The thing about TJ Maxx and Marshalls and all these stores is that when you love something and you see two or three of them, you really do have to buy it in bulk because there's a possibility that you might not see it again. It's like Hunger Games going into that store. But it was a very sunny morning this morning, and I just felt good, getting on my way there. I felt good when I was there. I was calm, I was present, I was peaceful, and I knew my plans for the day, and that was one of them was to record with you guys. So I was excited. I was excited and calm, and I did have some really, really nice time at the park. I was able to just be. I was looking at the water and taking some videos and recording some footage because I have certain things that I'm working on that I cannot wait to share with y'all. And I was just really thinking about, do I really want to release this episode or do I want to wait? How do I feel? Just checking with my energy. And I just feel like I'm so sensitive to my energy. I'm so sensitive, y'all. I can honestly tell you that I am in a very sensitive place in my life. I think when you are in transition, you are naturally a bit sensitive because you're trying to affect change. So when certain things occur, it will affect you a little differently, which means you can give up at any moment, right? If you're not at your destination yet, anything that happens can make you do a full U-turn. And it's like, I don't have time for it. So anything that I can do to keep myself up, to keep my mind up, to keep my spirits up, that's vital for me, right? The content that I consume, the people that I speak to, what I'm actually talking about, what I'm listening to. I love listening to neo soul, R&B music, slow music with positive words. Don't mind, listen, I don't mind twerking here and there. I don't mind a little bop. but I do appreciate the words of neo soul and positive like music and all of that. Like it just makes me feel good, like hearing the piano and like natural instruments. Like I just love that. I love the way that feels. And just being in that space, right? You're just a sensitive it's a very sensitive space and you need to be very selective. And I feel like with us living a luxury life, we have to be very careful of who enters our life and also be okay with who exits. And sometimes people exit on their own, and it is a little hurtful. I'm going to talk about that in another episode when relationships shift and you're like, damn, like I kind of miss how things were, but that's just not how it is right now. And you are on your way to something else, and maybe that person may not be on that wavelength. So you just got to be very mindful, very very mindful. Like in the last episode, I talked about having positive thoughts but pissed moments, and the idea that people who are positive are just not angry. Like it's not true. Like we're human beings. We get upset. We get tight. We get tight. So, it happens. But I think being in a space where you are being so mindful of what you decide to react to and what you decide to, really let into your life is key. I ignore a lot of things and I ignore a lot of people. I'm a very intuitive person. I notice a lot of things, but I choose not to give it air because what I'm dealing with and what I'm going through and what I'm trying to obtain in my life, certain things are just not worth my energy. I think when you are in high school or you're younger, you have enough time. People who are not doing much with their lives, they don't have enough time. They have too much time to think about frivolous things. When you really want to expand in your life, you don't have the time. You're not going to give it any air. And especially when it comes to transitioning, I wonder, do you guys feel that way? Because there was a time where I was confused. I thought it was me. I'm like, why is it that people are annoying me? Why is it that I feel so, you know, have you felt like that before? Where you just felt very like isolated almost, and you're trying to figure out what's going on. Like, why do I feel so weird with people? Like, why am I huffing and puffing before I answer a phone call? Or why do I not want to talk to this person anymore? I used to talk to them every day? So I'm going through all of these things, right? Very sensitive space. Trying to develop better habits. If you have not listened to my Billionaire Presence Part 2 episode, please do. It's a must listen. You guys need to listen, have your pen and your notebooks. Very, very great episode about InvestFest and just being in the room with billionaires. And one of the things that was heavily discussed was habits. So I'm in a space where I'm trying to shift my habits, shift how I'm thinking and how I'm feeling and believing, right? That I can get all the things that I want, which I've mentioned before on the show, like just this believing aspect, right? And with all of that comes a lot of thoughts, right? And I had an experience last week and I was just feeling very like overwhelmed with thoughts. Everything that you could think about, I was thinking about. And not even like thinking about it like in one form. I was thinking about it 10 years beyond, AKA my anxiety was on high. I was concerned about the smallest things to the biggest things about everything. I had questions, I had concerns. I was being very hard on myself. I was just conflicted with my decision making. First, I'm okay with my decision, then I'm questioning like, do you really feel this way? Like it was just really weird. And I felt like when I'm in those moments, I can't really talk to anybody because I'm trying to figure out what's happening with my own thoughts. Like I'm just trying to figure this out. And the only person at the time that was getting all those thoughts was my therapist because I was trying to connect them. I was trying to connect the idea that I'm still working on things. I'm not exactly where I need to be, but I will be. Just be patient. Like I have to like be my own coach and talk to myself sometimes, and it gets a little tiring. So there was a point where I was a little too tired. I was a little too tired. I had my session. I was telling her how I felt. She was like, these symptoms, like, I think you are very heightened. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. Like, I'm good. I feel fine. I'm not even thinking about that. I'm not even dealing with that. I'm good. I'm not even, nah, I'm fine. And she was like, okay. She was like, this is a very sensitive time for you. And I'm like, no, it's fine. I'm not even thinking about it. Not even on my mind. Not even on my mind. Y'all, hmm. you know, even when we believe we're okay, it's just so interesting how the body's like, no, you're not. And to prove to you that you're not okay, you're going to experience some pain, discomfort, frustrations, irritability. So all these things were happening. And I'm just like, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this way? So I'm attempting to go to sleep. And that's when it happened. So at this point, I am attempting to go to sleep. And I get to bed and I'm just like, yeah, I feel kind of tired. I'm going to go to sleep and lay down. For some reason, I just couldn't sleep, y'all. I could not sleep. I was tossing and turning. I was thinking about everything. I was thinking about what happened, what could have happened, what didn't happen, what should have happened, where I should be, what I should have. And oh, I need to do this. And oh, I need to do that. And every task you could think about was on my mind. And I felt like my vision got blurry. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt like I couldn't sleep. I had these really, really like weird thoughts and I could not understand what was going on. I really could not. I didn't know if I was having a nervous breakdown or a panic attack. And I think it was a panic attack. And it was happening in the middle of the night. So when you have a panic attack, it feels like you're about to die. You just can't breathe. You don't know what's happening with your body. Everything that you could think about, the worst thing you could think about, I thought about. And the idea of me dying and all these other things, it was just so not me. And I'm like, what is going on? And I didn't sleep until like 4:30 in the morning. I just could not sleep. Finally at 4:30 I got some rest. But I was exhausted. You would have thought I was literally in a battlefield. I was exhausted. I mean, beyond exhausted. um and then I woke up and I just felt very off. I felt very off. And that week, I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't talk to any of my friends. I love voice notes and responding. I didn't respond to anybody. People were calling me. I was ignoring everybody's call because I just didn't want to bother people, right? I felt like one of my friends, she was experiencing like a really great week. I'm like, I don't want to tell her what I'm going through. Other people, I didn't really feel like speaking. I didn't really feel like hearing what was going on with them. I didn't really, I wasn't in that space. I didn't want to hear anything. So I just didn't talk to anybody. And then I just felt like if I don't say something or try to do something, it's not going to be good for me. I'm going to be in a downward spiral and I really don't want that to happen. So I did talk to my therapist about it. And she mentioned that there is a book called The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel. I believe her name is Bessel Kolk, if I'm not mistaken. Bessel van der Kolk, yes. The Body Keeps the Score. And basically, what that talks about is when you're going through trauma. She mentioned that when you have been through some trauma, during certain moments or seasons, whatever, even though you're not thinking about something, your body still remembers what happened during that time. So I thought that was very interesting because she was mentioning this time with me. This is around the time of me losing my father. And I was like, no, I'm not even thinking about that. Like, I think about my father every single day. Every single day, I think about him. But I'm like, no, I'm not thinking about it. She was like, yeah, but I think your body is remembering that. And that whole week, y'all, my eye was twitching. It was just like I didn't know what was going on, but I realized that my eye was twitching with certain situations. Like it wasn't like an all day thing. I realized that when I was like calm and stuff, my eyes were just fine. And then when I was like doing something, when I thought about something stressful, or even when I was sharing a story, my eyes was twitching like crazy. It was twitching like crazy. So I did have that session with her, and I finally acknowledged that maybe that is the reason, but I didn't know because I felt like I wasn't thinking about it and I didn't really understand this concept. But now after she said it, I'm like, this actually makes sense, right? That when you've gone through something traumatic or you've seen something traumatic, that your body reacts sometimes before the brain does, before you can actually put the thoughts into your brain and form them. It's like your body's like, ooh, like it just reacts in that way. And I was like, wow, that is quite interesting because I didn't, I, I wouldn't know. But I think I did. I think I did have a moment of like, no, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm not even, I'm good. I'm good. And I wasn't. I was not good. And in that moment, I knew that if I continued to be on this journey by myself, that I was going to go into a deep depression. Save the Good Girl would not be here. I would not be recording, and I wouldn't be at my optimal best to do anything. So, because I've been here before, because I know what depression is, I know the symptoms, I know what I tend to do when I'm depressed, I was like, how do I troubleshoot it? And I think that with depression, you know how you react. Depression hits everybody very differently. It affects everybody very differently in many different ways. It's so important to pay attention to yourself and your patterns and what when you start doing certain things, that's when you know, okay, I'm not doing well. I knew something was up when I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was extremely irritable. It took me longer to get out of bed. I didn't really have that much energy. I was very tired. I was very annoyed. I was very down and sad. I didn't want to do anything. And I was like, yeah, this is how it shows up for me. This is how it shows up for me. Just not being responsible on certain things, and I'm pretty organized. So when I'm not writing in my planner, when I'm not doing certain things, I wasn't praying, and that was one of the biggest things for me. Like I wasn't reading my devotionals, and I'm like, yeah, this is how I know something's up. And if you have suffered from depression or if you have depressive moments, like there's certain things that you do that kind of gives you an indication, I think at least. So for me, I knew there was an indication and I knew that I couldn't be down in this circle for too long because it would really affect me. And I just felt like I didn't have the time to be affected, right? Not saying that I had to go into anything now. You know what I mean? Like I had to do something right now, but I just felt like I didn't have the time to be affected. I didn't have the time to take another, 2, 3 months, or whatever the case is, to not do what I need to do. What can I do to get better? Right? Clearly, if I needed a week off from recording, I would take it. But what can I do to get better? What is it that I needed? And first of all, talking to my therapist really helped me out a lot because she was my first source of me saying anything. Secondly, I'm like, when I get a little out of wax, aromatherapy just seems to be my go-to. That's how I also know I'm a bit stressed. Um, well, to be fair, I love perfume anytime. It don't matter when. But I feel like when I'm stressed, it's like I need to have a candle. I need to have perfume. I need to have it. And smelling things helps me out. So I had to like put my body butters on, and Erica put some perfume. I had to like talk to myself. Like, I don't know. I had to like talk to myself. You know what I mean? And finally, I was like, let me respond to one of my friends. And I just sent her a text. And I'm like, listen, I'm not good. I had a very rough week. I'm not sure if I had a nervous breakdown or an anxiety attack or a panic attack. I don't know what was going on, but it's been really rough. Her response to me is, how can I support you? What do you need? Do you want to be alone? Do you want to go out? Do you want to go to the park? Do you want to stay in? Do you want me to come over? What do you need? And I said, I don't know. I'll let you know. I'll let you know. But I will say, her offering that gave me options versus her not saying anything. And I think it's so important to be mindful of that. When you are trying to help somebody, it's important to just put it out there. Because what I did do was choose an option, right? She said she could either leave me alone, we could go out, she could come here, I could go to the park and be alone. Whatever the case is, there were options. And she was like, I just want you to rest today. Da, da, da. Clearly, I did not rest. I was still working on stuff, whatever the case is, but it was a beautiful day that day. And I'm like, listen, I think I need to leave the house. I'm going to go to the park. If you want to meet me there, meet me there. But I was on some like, I don't want you to be bothered. But she did end up meeting me there. And I needed that. I'm so grateful that she even was able to be Like it was urgent to her. You know what I mean? So I'm grateful that I was able to confide in her in that way, to just say, I'm not good. I'm not good. I'm not doing well. I'm going through a couple of things and I'm trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. Like trying to figure it out. And for her to give me that option, it truly, truly meant a lot. It truly meant a lot, because me even going to the park was like kind of hard. I didn't want to go to the park. I didn't want to. But I knew that me going would do me so much good versus me being home, especially considering when I wanted to stay home. I wanted to be down, and I knew that just wasn't going to be good for me. While I was getting ready, before I went to the park, I was like getting myself together. I was thinking about just life, right? And how you deal with adversity and how do you pick yourself back up? No matter how much support you have, you still have to make the decision to try. You still have to make the decision to be vulnerable. You still have to make the decision to share and acknowledge when you're not doing well. You have to make the decision to know when you are tired mentally, emotionally, and physically. You have to make the decision whether you want to be around people or not. No one is going to do it for you. No one can tell you anything, right? So I thought about that. I thought about how important Save the Good Girl is to me, how important it is for me to show up authentically, how important it is for me to navigate life, because things are going to happen. How are you going to deal with it? How are you going to, put yourself in a place where you are healing in the right way that works for you? Identifying what does work for you, what doesn't work for you, what is something you need to start doing, right? So as I'm getting ready, all the symptoms were there. They were confirmed because I've been here before. I know this road. I've been down this road and I know it very well. I know where the stoplights are. I know where the stop signs are. I know. And from speaking with my therapist and understanding what happened when I didn't troubleshoot early enough, I know that you can be here for long. And I will never forget, there was a story that I read about a woman who grieved from losing her father, and she was depressed for 7 years. I will tell you, losing a parent, losing someone, going through grief, going through loss, that sounds normal to me. Going through grief was the first time I understood why people like do certain things to escape, because the pain is so great that you don't want to think about it. So you're like, you know what? I'm going to do X, Y, and Z in excess, right? And when you're going through something like that, it's just so difficult because the way that it comes to you, you could be sitting here having a great time. Out of nowhere, a thought comes to your mind, out of nowhere. But then I also think about me, wanting to make my father proud and wanting to really like prove to myself that like I could do it. Like I really want to prove that to myself. However, I do acknowledge that I also need support. I do acknowledge the importance of friendships, and also family, and people that I speak to, the here and there's, the cordial people, whatever the case is. It's just important to have community. It is vital. So because I know that I have the support, I had to lean on that. And when it comes to therapy, which y'all, I am so excited, I have something special for y'all coming up soon. I can't wait to share. When it comes to therapy, therapy does not work unless you work it. If you go to therapy and you don't want to share anything, it's not going to work for you. So when people would tell me like, "Oh, I went to therapy, I didn't like it." My always, what I always wonder is, yeah, it takes time to find the right therapist. I'm not going to lie. You have to find somebody you have a connection with. However, I always wonder, what are you saying? And what do you expect them to do? They're not going to force you to speak. They're not going to force you to do anything. Therapy only works if you work it, right? You have to work with your therapist about what's really going on in your mind. They can't read your mind. So I had to be honest with her because I could have lied to my therapist and say, I'm doing fine. But I knew that wasn't going to help me. So I was very honest with where I was. And I shared that with my friend who's also in therapy as well. And we were just talking and having conversation. And then from there, I remember seeing this very cute like sushi spot, and I've always wanted to try it. and I'm like, I just want to see something pretty. Like I just wanted to see something pretty. Like even if we didn't eat or drink or whatever, I just wanted to be somewhere pretty. And we went to this sushi spot. We went pretty late because we were in the park for like hours just talking. We were there until the sunset. Sun was way gone. We were still talking. We went to the sushi spot and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful sushi spot. The decoration was gorgeous. I think it opened up earlier this year. The sushi was good. I didn't want to eat anything too heavy. So I just wanted like some small rolls and water, literally. I didn't want a cocktail. I didn't want juice. And that's what I had. And that's when we were just vulnerable. Well, I was just vulnerable talking to her. Well, we were vulnerable. She was also vulnerable as well. And it was just nice. It was nice to be out the house. It was nice to be around somebody who cares and who was listening intently. It was nice for me to hear myself as I'm speaking because I think there is power in talking. I don't think it helps anybody when you keep things to yourself. Vulnerability is something that needs to be earned. However, once that person has earned your trust, it is to be shared. Yes, I believe in writing things down. I believe in journaling. I really do. But there is some power with hearing yourself speak. There is some power in speaking it out. Holding things in will not help you at all, at all, because you hold things in. Nobody really knows what's going on. And what tends to happen with people who hold things in, they're not happy people. They're pretty miserable. And they're miserable with everybody around them because you're not happy with yourself. You're not doing any work to get happy. You're not trying to get happy. So it's so vital to talk. And in that moment, I was grateful to not only speak, but to have somebody who was a listening ear. Because when you're going, at least for me, like when you're going through something, the worst thing that can happen when you're trying to be vulnerable is when somebody's not paying attention to you. They're giving you basic responses because they're not really focused on you. They're really focused on themselves. It's like they just want to hear what you have to say so that you can stop speaking and they could just kind of like go into what's going on with them. And it was nice for that for in that moment for the focus to be on what I'm saying and then, her asking me questions and etc. It was just nice to let it out. It was a really nice night. I was happy to be outside, especially since I've been kind of like reclusive for like 4 days and just kind of like enjoying the moment, enjoying the time. It was really, really good for me. And I don't know. I wonder, right? If I didn't do that, I don't think I would be on this I don't think I will be on this place in this place with you right now to discuss what even happened because I probably wouldn't be recording. I probably would still be down. And because I have like my own accountability for myself when it comes to this podcast, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, what can I do to get better? What can I do to feel great again? Not in like 100%, but just good enough for me to see the hope, see the possibility, see the Erica, you're not doing horrible. Things are okay. You're okay. Yes, you can work on these things. You're gonna work on these things. Don't be too stressed. Like, what can I do to get to that space? Because me working on me is not just for me, right? Me working on whenever we work on ourselves, there's so many other people who are impacted by that. Because when you're down, that's one more person, one less person that doesn't get a chance to see you smile. One less person that doesn't get a chance to be around your energy. One less person that doesn't get a chance to just be around you, period. You don't have to do anything, just being around you. And you don't know who you're affecting. You don't know. I don't know. I don't know who's listening to this and just nodding their heads like, "Oh, girl, I get it." I get it. And it was important for me to share with you guys the details of what happened because at that point it was like every minute was a count for me. Like, okay, like I'm like sweating because I'm like, oh, should I go to the park? Should I text her back? I mean, I kind of want to talk, but I don't want to talk. Should I just talk to her on the phone? Should I just send voice notes? Should I? Okay, no, maybe I should go to the park by myself. Like these are the thoughts that was running through my mind, and I'm like, nah, like I need to get this. I need to get this on and popping. This is a priority for me. And having sushi and vulnerability really is the reason why I'm on this microphone with y'all today. Truly. I mean, probably would not have been if I didn't have that. If I didn't have it. having the courage to push myself to just get there. And I think if you're in this place, it's just getting there. You don't have to do anything else and don't think about anything else. Don't overwork the mind. It's just getting there. How do we get there? Don't even think about it anything else because when I was thinking about like talking to her, all of this was not a thought. The thought was, Erica, can you get to the park? Can you get to the park, sis? Everything else we can figure it out. But can you get to the park? And I was like, I can get to the park. Like I was really like talking to myself, y'all, because it's a lot. It was a lot that was going through my mind. And I know I'm not the only one. I'm sure that you are going through some things. There's a lot going on in your mind and you're like, what is going on? What is happening? And I thought it was interesting when my therapist mentioned that the body keeps the count because I'm like, I didn't even think about that concept. Apparently, it's a New York Times bestseller. Now I'm really interested in reading it because I'm like, this lady's onto something. She is onto something. And I just thought about how important it is for me to share this story with y'all because somebody could be going through this and they need to hear the steps that they need to take to just get back out there. I believe that in order to live a luxurious life, you have to be vulnerable. When you are vulnerable, you are able to get solutions to your opportunities a bit faster. When that happens, you are able to live life a bit freer, less overwhelmed, and get to the joy. I believe that being vulnerable has way more benefits than not. I believe that not everybody is worth your vulnerability. So you do have to be very mindful of who you decide to share your information with. I think it's so important to understand your indications too. Like, what happens when you're stressed? What happens to your body? What do you start doing? Have you paid attention to yourself lately and think about that? Because I know for me, there's just certain indications that happens when I'm just like, okay, I'm not in a good space. Why is it taking me longer to get out of bed? Why am I so tired? Why am I not in a space to talk to anybody? Why am I reclusive? Why do I not want to leave the house? So I wonder, like, do you think about yourself in terms of what are certain things that you're doing that could make you say, I'm not in the best space right now? And then more importantly, once you realize that, right? How can we get out of it? Because it's going to happen. It is going to happen. We're going to have those moments. What do you need to do? What is it that's going to help you get out of it? And I think speaking is a very powerful tool. I think writing in your journal is also a very powerful tool. I think not giving yourself any expectations is also a really great tool as well. I think stopping your thoughts in their tracks is a very great tool. I think prayer is a wonderful tool. And I think that acknowledging that you need a little help. It's so difficult for people to say I need help. It's so difficult for people to say I'm not doing well. There's so many things that people go through in silence and nobody knows anything. It's just like you're letting this thing eat you up inside. There are people that I know that live with trauma. Their response is traumatic. The way they act, the way they think, everything is a big deal. They're just mad and it's like, why? you know? Do you guys hear the ice cream truck by the way? It's kind of loud, but they'll be gone soon. Like, anybody want no ice cream right now? um, but yeah, it's like some people really live with that. And unfortunately, when you're not well, other people have to deal with that. They got to deal with your attitude. They got to deal with your negative energy. They got to deal with you being frustrated and anxious and mad all the time. And nobody wants to be around that type of energy. Like, it's just not fun to be around. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be that person. I don't. So I gotta constantly like check myself to see where I'm at. Like, how do I feel? One day, y'all, no lie, I woke up and I said to myself, what kind of energy are you gonna be in today, Erica? What are you gonna do? Are you gonna be sad? Or are you gonna be like, what are you gonna do? I literally asked myself that because I felt like I was getting a little like sad, whatever the case is. And I was like, what are you gonna do? What kind of energy are you trying to give today? And I was like, wow, that was very bold. Like, girl, give me a minute. But I think it's important, y'all, that we understand that we are doing the best that we can, and our best looks different every single day. Today, your best could be high productivity. Like you've done everything. Like you have a checklist and you've done it all. You're doing great. You're on a roll. You're on a roll with work. You're on a roll with your partner, your kids, whatever is going on in your life. You're doing phenomenal. Like, yes, you're getting it done. Da da da. Tomorrow, your best could be making the bed. And that's all you could do. The next day, your best could be having a phone call with a friend. The next day, your best could be brushing your teeth. Like every day is a different best. Every day is a different color. Every day is a different way that we show up. But I think when you have your internal mission statement, when you understand like where is your destination, where would you like to go, that's the most important factor. Where do you want to go? For me, I'm always at this place of I deserve a luxurious life. I deserve to be around luxurious people. I deserve to have luxurious experiences. I deserve to be in luxurious places. I deserve to have luxurious explorations. Like, that's what I want. That is what I want. But life is life and things are not going to be great all the time. And I just felt like, in true essence of me being authentic with the podcast, I really wanted to be honest with y'all and let y'all know, like, yo, this is what really happened. I do have a lot of great topics that I can't wait to share with you guys. But I'm like, this is what really happened. Like, this is real, you know? And I really felt these things and I really thought about like how I got out of it. And I think that would be a great benefit to you, to encourage you that you have the power to make a move. It doesn't have to be a big move. It doesn't have to be a big change. It doesn't have to be anything major, but you do have the power to make a move. You have the power to share what you want to share and not feel judged. You need to know what a safe space looks like. What does that look like, right? A safe space is you being able to share how you feel comfortably, without hesitation, without thought, without any kind of like nervousness. You're free to let it out. And when you let it out, you feel good. And the person that you're letting it out to doesn't have any weird facial expressions or, not listening, looking at their phones or being distracted. They are giving you their undivided attention, right? What does a safe space look like? Think about that. Who is a safe space for you? Who is someone that you can speak to freely? And if you can't speak to someone freely, if you feel like there's nobody in your circle, are you willing to talk to a therapist? Are you willing to go to a group? There's a lot of different groups discussing different topics. Are you willing to do that? Right? Understanding that the body does keep the count. Without me reading this book, I can tell you a true testimony that it's true. It's true. When you've gone through something traumatic, during that time of that trauma, your body remembers that. And it's so crazy. The body is a very interesting factor to me. Like, it's very interesting how the body works. But if you don't have that, right, how do we create that? Because we need you. We need you, right? Like, I think it's so important that we work on ourselves and the healing gets advanced every single time. There's different types of healing for me. There's beginner, there's intermediate, and there's advanced. And I feel like when you start to get to a place of action, you are in that intermediate phase. Beginner is just showing up. You're doing a great job and you are showing up, and that is phenomenal. When you start putting action into it, that is something else. How do we do that, right? How do we ask for help, and how do we acknowledge like, yo, something's not right? And I'm not going to lie, it felt very awkward for me to say that, like I'm not doing well. Like it felt very weird for me to say it, but freeing at the same time. Like it was weird, but it was freeing at the same time. I think it's important that we lean on our support. I think it's important that we determine, like, I need you to come over. I want to go out, something. For me, it was important that I got out the house because I was in the house for a couple of days and I'm like, I can't do this. I need some air. I need some air. Or I'm going to just think about these thoughts and exasperate them and it gets worse. So really thinking about, y'all, how do we manage when adversity occurs? How do we really deal with trauma? How do we really deal with going through a very difficult loss? And I think that even with healing, these things are always going to be in our minds. I'm never going to forget, the pain that I've been through going through loss. I think about that all the time. I think about it all the time. But I also know that there is a responsibility for me while I'm here to try my best. And there's many things, y'all, to be honest with you, that I really would like to work on, that I'm going to work on, because there's a certain type of woman that I'm trying to be. And in order for me to get there, there is some real talk that has to happen. Real talk. Not even like talking bad about yourself, but just some real talk. Some real like, nah, you could do better. Let's be real. You're not perfect. You could do better. And I just want that for us. I know that we are on this wavelength. We want to live a luxurious life. We want to have a lot of great things happen for us, and it will. But life does happen, yo. It does, yo. It really, really does. And it's very easy to not want to speak to anybody because you don't want to bother people, or maybe you're embarrassed, or maybe you're just like trying to figure out, like, yo, what is really going on here? Like, I don't even know what's going on. So, having that space to be vulnerable, it can really save you emotionally, truly, Like, I felt better from speaking. I felt better afterwards. I felt calmer. I felt like, okay, things will be better. And then the next day, I also like went out, and then I was invited to my friend. She had like a birthday dinner for her brother. I went to that. And then I had another friend who was going through something. And because I did my work, I was able to help her and show up for her and be there for her. So that's why it's so important that we work on ourselves, because she needed me. And the reality is I wouldn't be able to be present had I not done the Sushi and Vulnerability Day. I wouldn't, because I just would have been to myself and would have been like, girl, I can't. But I was able to show up. I was able to, and I'm not saying that you got to get better just to be there for other people. It just so happens that I was going through something. I was able to talk to somebody. It truly helped me out to be vulnerable, talking to my therapist and all of that. I was able to take the remnants of the work that I've done and help somebody else authentically. I didn't feel like I was rushed. I didn't feel like I was like forcing myself to do something. I felt like I was genuinely ready to have conversations with my friend. So I encourage you to put yourself out there in terms of your vulnerability. I encourage you to really figure out, like, what is your safe space. I want you to really think about, like, what are some symptoms that you think you have to let you know that you're very, very stressed. What happens? Who can you speak to when that does happen? Because we need to like have like a plan in place for that. Like, who can you speak to? Who is someone that you can call? And if you really feel like you can't talk to anybody, what do you do? Right? What is it that you're going to do to help yourself get better? Can you join a group? Can you talk to a therapist? Do you need to write in your journal? Do you need to go for a run? Do you need to go for a walk? Do you need to listen to a podcast? Like, what is it that you need to do to get yourself back up? I want you to really think about that, because we are living a life of luxury. You listening to me right now is luxurious, and me recording is luxurious. Okay. I don't know if you guys hear the plane. I live near an airport, so um if you hear it, my bad. But we are living a life of luxury. But that doesn't mean that we are exempt from pain. It doesn't mean that we are exempt from going through things. It doesn't mean that we are exempt from feeling aggravated, annoyed, confused, overwhelmed, stressed, insecure, feeling left behind. It doesn't exempt us, right? So it's like, it's going to happen, but what can we do to troubleshoot so that we can still get the things that we want? That's what I've been all about, y'all. Y'all know, if y'all been listening to my podcast every week, you know, you know, you know. But I challenge you to think about it in this way. I challenge you to give yourself some grace. This is something that I also did during this time, was give myself grace and acknowledging, like, okay, E, you had a rough moment, you had a rough time, but you're going to be great. You're going to be great. You're talking to the right people. You're feeling good. You're doing the right thing slowly. And only wonderful things will happen from here. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. And maybe that it inspired you to have your own like sushi and vulnerability night, or maybe not sushi if you're not into that, but just a space where you can be vulnerable to get to, the answers that you're looking for within yourself. Because I really do believe that there's some strength in being vulnerable. And I want to know what you thought about this episode. Are there certain things that you do that helps you get back on track? How do you share your vulnerability? I want to hear it all. Go to savethegoodgirl.com and send me a message on there. You can go to the contact section and I do respond to everything, y'all. You can also send me DMs on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and Pinterest. And also, if you enjoyed this episode or if you are enjoying the podcast, I would love for you to send a review. Let me know your thoughts on there. It really helps push me out to other people that needs to hear this message as well. And I just want to say that we all go through really rough moments. We all go through really rough times, but that's exactly what it is, a rough moment and a rough time. It does not dictate how your entire life is going to be or feel like. I know in the moment it does, but that's just not the truth. And I encourage you to speak up. I encourage you to understand, how your body functions during stress and certain symptoms that you notice within yourself that lets you know that you're not okay. And when you're not okay, to seek the help of someone else, whether it's a friend, a therapist, a group, something, because there is power and things will get better and you will change for the better. But to live a luxurious life, we need to be vulnerable, we need to be honest, and we need to give ourselves lots and lots and lots of grace. And I felt very good sharing this with y'all. But of course, we got so much more to discuss. So please come back next week. We have so much more. I have so many wonderful things that I'm planning for y'all that I cannot wait to share. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember, you deserve a luxurious life. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.